Mike and Bruce on Marlow FM.
But I'm joined today by Travis Ludlow, and his dad Nick is here as well. Travis, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good. I've read all the stuff on you. I've looked at the website. I've seen the movie and all the blah blah blah. But now you're here in person.
Yep.
Tell the listeners why you're here.
So next year, I'm aiming to become the youngest person to fly solo around the world.
Is that solo? Sorry, is that the youngest person in the world, or the youngest person in Marlow, or
Youngest person in the world? Yes.
That alone is slightly staggering.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Sign my book, will you please? Here, go on then. Keep going.
Well, I'm doing this in a light aircraft, so single engine, and that might scare some people because you haven't got anything to fall back on if something goes wrong. But
yeah, we're going to talk about that later on.
Yeah, but I'm getting all the latest safety features. I'm doing the safest route possible because Russia recently opened up its borders.
Yeah, so
I'm flying east first. And
so you're going from here east, so you're going south a bit, then up a bit, and then across.
Yep. And going through Russia actually avoids the most dangerous routes, which is the 15-plus hour routes over the Pacific, where there's no land or anything. If something goes wrong, you have to land in the sea. So
you've still got to go across the icy bit across the top, haven't you?
Yes, but
to get to Canada.
Yeah, but you could see the other side, pretty much. So,
is that the Bering Straits? How wide
yes,
are
it
they?
Is. It's about 30, 40 miles, I believe.
Okay,
so,
I hate to say that, but that's nothing to what you're going to have to do at the last bit, isn't it?
No, it's not, no.
So, we're going to go into a lot more detail, but I quite like going through this journey. So then you arrive in Canada. Wait, you've got to go then due south?
Yes, so I arrive in Canada, and then I go south into San Diego, and then LA, and then I basically just tour around America, zigzagging across America.
Just having a good time.
Yeah, and then there's an air show in America called Oshkosh, which is the biggest air show in the world, and I'm hoping to land at Oshkosh as one of my stops. And that's my only thing I have to make sure I be there for, because for the sponsors and stuff, I need to be there. Yeah.
Okay. I think you're okay with that one, can't you?
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a few people lined up to say hello to you.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
So it's okay. We've been there. We've had the chips and the nachos, and now we're on our way again.
Yeah.
Where's Oshkosh, by the way?
It's in what's it? The state? It's Montana, I think.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's where it is, yeah.
Montana music.
Oh, no, Wisconsin, that's it, yeah, Wisconsin, yeah.
Look, I love that. That's why my father's here.
Yeah.
Just correction, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm going to be talking to you soon, Nick. I have some great questions for you. Right, okay, I've taken off from Wisconsin. Now where am I going?
Then I'm going down to Florida. And then from Florida, I'm travelling up the West Coast, and then I'm flying back into Canada. And there's this very, very remote airfield, which is the closest to Greenland. And then from this small airfield in Canada, we fly to Greenland. Then
how far is that?
That's about 400 miles.
Okay. Gulp.
Yeah.
Now, for the listeners, clearly there's no way you could go down through South America and then cut across that way, because you just wouldn't have the range. You'd have to do in-flight refueling, which doesn't work, does it?
No, yeah, it doesn't work. And also that's very long times over the ocean where there's vast expansive ocean where there's just nothing. So it's just for safety reasons as well.
So you've got 400 miles, you land in Greenland, and then what? You're not home and dry then, are you still?
No, so we land in Greenland, and then we have to fly in this very icy weather.
Can I just say, we? Is that...
Oh, no, I have to fly.
Yeah,
yes, I have to fly in this very icy weather all the way to Iceland. So one of the dangers of that is ice building up on the plane, because I don't have de-icing equipment or anything, so if ice builds up on the plane, I could lose control of the plane and stuff like that. But I'm making sure that I don't take off in any weather that could cause problems like that. So
can de-icing, if you're in a situation, and we've read lots of stories, and I've done a little bit of flying myself. I was an air traffic controller in my previous life. But if you don't take off with ice on your wings, and you de-ice the plane to take off, once you're airborne, do you have options to help yourself in terms of the altitude you fly at to keep the ice down, or will you have anything on board to help that, or doesn't it not become a problem?
Well, so I have this technology from this company called Bendix King, and they're my main sponsor. And they provide these avionics, and they have this state-of-the-art weather radar, and I could see where all the icing and everything is on this map in my cockpit, and I could fly around to avoid it, or I could fly higher than this weather because the condensation or the dew point is called, where all the clouds and everything, that's the danger of the ice. So I could fly above that and pretty much avoid all the ice. Okay,
let's finish the journey. Then we're going to go to your first song. So we've got landing. Then we're going to go back into a little bit more of why and what and who and then. So that will take me to Iceland.
Yep.
We're going Shetlands.
I'm flying to Wick after that.
Okay, so straight onto the mainland.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is actually my longest, most dangerous route is this journey from Iceland to Wick, because...
Now, at some point, like anything else, and with commercial or other aircraft, they all have diversion airfields.
Yes.
And that means they get to a point where if they're not going to make it, they divert.
Yes.
If they run into approach, they divert. Now, there must be a point of no return.
There is.
And that's the halfway point. With something like, if you take your flight from across to Greenland, which is 400 miles, there's not a lot of reserves in the tank there, are there? So do you get to a point you're going, it's a go, and I'm going to keep going, or I'm going to turn back?
Well, actually, the airplane is being modified with this state-of-the-art engine. It's diesel engine, and it actually gives the plane about 1,000 miles of range with full tanks.
I feel better already.
And diesel as well is a lot more reliable than the standard engine that goes in the aircraft. So, because it only uses about 5 gallons per hour, and compared to about 10 gallons per hour with the other aircraft. So
my car would do that.
Yeah.
I know it sounds daft, but even my car, 5 gallons per hour. That's probably about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I land at Wick. That's not the end yet, though, is it?
No, that's not the end, because then I have to fly basically the whole length of the United Kingdom, and then I land back at my home base, which is White Waltham Airfield. And then that's the journey completed.
I was reading something, and Nick, it was words you were writing about some of the perils of doing this, and there's some really dangerous bits. But of course, by the time you get around there, given all the hours you've done and all the hours you're going to be doing, you're going to be one experienced pilot from now. But I just wanted to introduce you to Nick, who is Travis's father, completely irresponsible, letting his 17 or 16-year, nearly 70-year-old son go off around the world. Why do that? Nick, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us on.
No, we're welcome. And there's so much. We fortunately have loads of time. And for you out there, Nick and Travis will be staying with us all morning. If you have questions or just want to go ooh-ah, text 07900 975 975 or email studio@marlowfm.co.uk. Now, Nick, we know we need sponsorship, and people can go and look. How do they do that? And we will get that information up on the website.
Well, the website, easy enough, is www.aroundtheworldsolo.co.uk. Bit of a mouthful, but if you remember Around the World Solo, you've got the rest of it. And there's an awful lot of information on there about Travis, everything that he's done prior to flying and his flight training, but also the sponsorship angle, where to go to donate. We've got some fantastic sponsors. Bendix King, as Travis has already mentioned, has been amazing, and that's a major safety factor. The website is the best way, and we're it's cash sponsorships that's always the hardest part. You can always get equipment.
Okay, well, we'll look at that, and we'll make sure we get that information up on there. And listeners, we will be telling you later on throughout the programme. We'll repeat it for you so that people can remember where to go and what to do. There's so much more to talk about. And if you have questions, then come to us on those numbers, the text number and the email number. Travis, we've got you here for the rest of the show, and I'm delighted about that. Thank you so much for coming in. But there's a lot to talk about, I've got a lot of questions. First of all, there you were with your teddy, working out what to do in your life. And what's wrong with train driving, or being a banker, or a doctor? And what did you do? Tell me about it.
Well, all those jobs just aren't exciting enough, really.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it started where I used to live on a farm, and there was a small airfield by this farm, and I think the only plane that was stationed there was a stunt plane, and I would see this stunt plane fly over my house doing stunts all the time, and I thought, oh, that looks like so much fun. I wish I could be a pilot, and well, here I am now, a pilot. And when I was about 10 years old, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to fly around the world, visiting all these amazing places.
How old were you when you sat in your first aeroplane?
I think I was actually quite old, actually. I was about 14, actually, so I was quite old. I wasn't... I haven't grown up in aviation or anything. My dad doesn't fly. It's all my dream, pretty much.
Okay, Nick, did you want to say something? I can see your voice going.
No, I didn't. You know, this around the world thing is when I first heard it. I think it was after he read something about Polly Batcher flying around the world in 2003. You know, like you do as a dad, you don't ignore him, but you nod your head and say, "That's a great idea, son." But
yeah.
you know, it wasn't taken seriously.
Now do your homework,
it was
yeah.
only when he flew solo on his 14th birthday in a glider, becoming one of the youngest people to fly a glider solo, that I thought, hang on a minute, maybe I should start taking this a bit more seriously.
Yeah, so that's difficult to comprehend. So that's your first time solo. How long did that take? That couldn't have taken too long.
Yeah, that took about a year to train in a glider, because gliding is actually very easy compared to normal planes. And then after that, I had a year off because I have to be 17 to get my license, and it doesn't take 3 years to get a license. So I waited for a year, and then when I was 16, I started training for my pilot's license. And throughout the whole summer holidays, I was pretty much doing lessons every single day. And I was missing some school as well. Yeah. I've recently finished I recently passed my flying test, and now I just have to wait till I'm 17 to get my license.
So you're 17 in February.
Yes.
How quickly can you do your license? You need that pretty much straight away to get ready for the record.
Yes, so I can actually apply for my license now.
Yeah.
And the aim, hopefully, they'll deliver my license either on my birthday or the day after. So yeah, that's the aim.
Just as a matter of interest, you're going to be the youngest person that's flown around the world. Okay, solo.
Yes.
What's the one after you, or what's the current record?
There's a person called Mason Andrews, and he was 18 when he flew around the world.
No, 17.
17?
17.
Okay, yes, he was 17 when he flew around the world.
No, I apologise. He was 18.
Okay, yes,
Yep.
yeah, he was 18, yeah. And
He was older than you're going to be.
By nearly a year.
yes,
Good enough for me.
yeah.
Where's he from?
So he's from America, yes.
Okay.
And he flew in his dad's plane around the world, but he did this when Russia hadn't opened up its borders for general aviation. So he had to fly over the Pacific, over these really long routes.
How did you do that? I know there's islands, but there are still... Gosh, I'm trying to think of which route you go.
Yeah, so, well, the way he did it, he had he took out all the back seats and just put a big fuel tank inside the back seats as well. So
Okay.
that's how he got all the range.
Just to give himself incredible range.
Yes.
Gosh.
Scary flying over
but
just water.
you do know that. The thing is, if the earliest you can fly is 17, there's going to be someone that will take off on their 17th birthday, won't they? In the end, because you're not going to be. You're 17 in February, but you're flying in June. Is that because of the good weather months?
Yes.
Okay,
That's exactly why.
That's fairly critical, isn't it?
Yes.
In terms of so there's an awful lot of planning to do this. You can't, it's not just a case of I think I'm going to go shopping. The planning.
Yep.
How long's that taking? Is it ready now, or you're still on? Is it still going?
No. The planning's still the plan's still changing. Still planning all the routes. And I mean, when I was doing my training, just a flight up to Northampton took about 2 hours to plan. So you can imagine how long it takes to plan all of these routes all around the world. So
the number of charts is scary.
yes.
And now, can you do that digitally now? Or do you still need a paper backup?
You can do it digitally, but legally you do need to bring a paper backup in the
I
plane.
kind of want that, because if the digital goes down, I want to know where I am and how
Yes.
I find myself and do that.
Yes.
How do you feel about your son doing this, Nick?
Well, I think he's been very successful at what he's done up till now. So he stopped his kickboxing to do this, and he was going to do the World Championship kickboxing, and then he decided we decided that he couldn't do that and concentrate on flying. So he gave that up. But he's been very successful, and I had to take notice of the things that he was doing, and with some of the things that he's done, maybe the kickboxing is partly me suggesting, but his flying has been his flying. He's always looking at the sky, looking at airplanes. That's so his passion is flying, and I couldn't ignore that passion. And I've just made you talk about planning. An awful lot of planning has gone into this, and this is without doubt the safest route that has ever been taken by a single engine aircraft. Thankfully, for Russia, for opening up the doors across. Russia has opened up certain areas, but the complete cross route has only opened up in 2019, which helps Travis a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm going to bounce around all over the place with some of my questions because it's just doing everyone. You can't be with him on this because it's solo. That's the whole point. And you can't fly to all of the places he's going to, because that would be you'd be flying alongside him, which kind of defeats the point as well. How can you support? How can people who want to follow you support you? I mean, I can't wait. I want to be able to follow you flying around. And I know there are apps that can follow aircraft. I think I've got one on my phone. But how will people find out, and how, Nick, will you be able to do that?
Well, the main thing that I want to, and I'm going to hand back to Travis to talk about his support team, because he's got an amazing support team. But the main thing that we are doing for in the aircraft is we're putting cameras in the airplane. Those cameras will allow people to link to that aircraft, but it'll have to come through a central hub. So for example, you could call Travis while he's flying around the world and speak to him live while he's crossing Russia.
We will be doing that on Marlow FM.
Yeah, you've got to do that.
Yeah,
and so he will be able to. So not only will you be able to track him online on his website and find out exactly where he is, but TV stations and radio stations will be able to tune into him live during his flight via a central hub here in the UK. So we don't know, the general public, we don't want him calling up, getting telephone calls every 5 minutes. But, he will be in contact with the ground, and his support team, which I think Travis should talk about, is amazing.
Yeah, so who's going to help you?
Yeah, so
not there.
I'm being supported by this company called General Aviation Support Egypt. And basically what they do is they have someone who represents them at every single airfield I land at, and they'll manage all of my fuel, my accommodation, all of that stuff at these airfields. So all I have to worry about is planning the flight and flying there, because they just do all the rest of the work. And what's great about them is when planning a flight, you have to plan for all these diversions, but they can plan all they can have someone at the diversions. They can do all this work for you, and it just cuts the time down. And the safety aspect is just so much greater when you have just all these people there helping you.
They are in contact with him 24/7.
Yes.
So all the time he's flying, one person from that company is constantly in touch with him. So if the weather is improved by going up another 7,000 feet, and he can get a tailwind, they'll suggest he goes up to 7,000 feet.
What's your limit on your altitude?
Well, it's 10,000 feet, and I can go higher than 10,000 feet, but then I would need oxygen tanks.
We'll take a deep breath and hold on.
Yes,
Doesn't work, does it? No. Your little contrails behind you. No, thank you for that. And if you look at your longest flight is 8.5 hours?
Yes, it is, yes.
Now, that brings me to a sort of a question that I think I open to both of you as well, Nick as well. Risk. Risk is a big thing. There's risk staying in bed. There's risk doing anything in your life, and we all accept those risks. Some of them are more manageable. I don't cross the road until the little green man tells me to. But you're launching into somewhere where there's a lot of risks. I'd like to know about some of them. What have you done about them?
Yes, so some of the risks are the weather, and the way it's like crossing the road. Don't cross the road if there's a car. If the weather's bad, you just don't fly, basically. So even if that ends, that means me, spending a few days at a in the middle of Russia, it's better than taking off and risking risking everything pretty much just because I wanted to get out of Russia.
There may even be occasions when you're airborne, you have to say, I'll go back.
Yes.
And you've got to be big enough to actually, because a lot of people have push-on-itis. It'll be fine, I'll just go around this one. Doesn't work.
Yep, exactly. There was someone who flew around the world in a seaplane. He saw these two weather fronts, and there was a gap in the middle, and he thought he could go down this gap in the middle. He risked it, and he thought it was faster, but he wasn't, and he ended up getting into a spin because he couldn't see where he was, and he just managed to pull out of this spin and get away with his life. And if that ever happens, I'm not going to be flying at all if there's even a single weather front like that, if there's any danger, because safety is just the number one priority here.
I get that, and that's sensible. However, you're flying. That's an exciting thing to do. So you must be driven by adrenaline as well. There's a buzz. I know that. There's a buzz doing lots of things in our life, and we love it, and we feed off that. So if you're not going to go up there and read a book. You're not in the library. You are doing something that is exciting. So that must give you a little bit of a buzz as well.
Yes. I guess some things will be like, I'm hoping to, when I take off, circle the school, say goodbye to my friends, which is a bit of a risk.
This is the Great Marlow School?
Great Marlow School, yes.
Can you let everyone know when you're doing it?
Yeah, I'll let everyone know. But yeah, I mean, I still want to have some fun while I'm doing it, but I don't want to have so much fun that...
No loop-the-loops?
Yeah, no loop-to-loops, definitely not, no.
So Dad, risk...
Well, risk is,
you,
I have 3 children. There is only one child that could possibly do this. And I should probably say I've got 4 children, including myself. And Travis is sensible. He's very cautious. If he sees bad weather up ahead, he just won't take off. He's quite happy in his own space. So he's quite happy to sit there for a day or two and wait until the weather's cleared. And if you think about it from a safety aspect, yes, the longest flight is 8 and a bit hours, but the average flight is 4.5. And majority of them are around that distance. So there's only really one long flight. And what he's doing is 42 hops. Now, the average airfield probably does some 42 in a week. Taking off and landing. That's all it really is. It's 42 little hops.
Yeah, when you put it into that perspective, you're just getting on a bus. It's normal. It's fair and easy. However, it's not, is it? Because we're working on the basis that I'm getting a bus to Beaconsfield. Fine. I'm not in the middle of Russia. I'm not flying over the Bering Straits. I'm not on a 4-hour flight between mainland and Greenland. And the hop then suddenly becomes a slightly different hop. And you're on your own, aren't you? So Travis, what training have you done to enable you to sort of overcome something? And I don't want to paint a worst case picture, but we can't ignore those things because what you're doing is inherently risky.
Yes, I've been trained to what to do in case of engine failures after takeoff, engine failures in flight, what to do if I lose control of the controls, what to do if I get too slow, I stall the plane, and I'm also soon gonna have some training about ditching in the sea. So that's it's just a course about what to do, how to land the plane in the sea, how to get out safely, and just what to do once you're in the sea, pretty much.
Oh, and we spoke a little bit about your support team, which is great, and they're going to be there and they're going to provide the cover when you're on the ground. What about air traffic control? Are we? Okay, I guess the Greenland hop bit is a bit where you could be out of range in terms of who you speak to.
Yes, so the Greenland hop, I am actually out of range of all air traffic control. So the only way to do, to talk to air traffic control is the airline is flying above me. I have to tell them my information, and they relay the information to air traffic control, pretty much. So I can't hear actual air traffic control except for the airline is above me.
Yeah, one of the interesting things that I dealt with in my air traffic control, I'm not going to bore you with that, but basically on the cross-Atlantic flying bit, they are out of range of basic radar and also speaking. So a lot of it's done on reporting the position. So once you know where your position is, I can then plot you and I know everything's going okay, and it gives me an altitude and a position. Presumably that's the sort of information you can pass to the pilot, and it won't to the to the aircraft. So that's also got to be set up as well, presumably, isn't it?
Yes. So, well, that's exactly what I'll be doing. But the radios in other countries is actually very easy, because in England we actually have some of the most complex air traffic control in the world. Where
sorry about that.
But
we have a lot of aircraft.
Yes, we do, and it's very small with a lot of aircraft. So so the air traffic control here is just very complex, but pretty much in all other countries it's very easy.
Assuming at the moment then you can't fly into controlled airspace, can you?
I can, but I just need to ask permission before that. So.
Even without a PPL?
Yes, even without PPL.
Of course, you've got using the licence of the guy on the ground.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Yep.
Okay. So, other risks, I can think of loads, but you tell me some of the ones, Nick, that you've gone through in terms of basic stuff.
Well, I've spoken to a lot of round earthers and their fathers.
So what do you call it?
Travis mentioned Mason Andrews, who's currently the youngest person to fly around the world, and I spoke to his father. And interestingly, one of the first things he said to me was, if I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have sent him. And I thought, oh dear, here we go. This is the end of Travis's dream. But to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't have sent Travis the route that Mason took. It's just scary. He spent three weeks in Japan because of bad weather, just sitting on the ground waiting for the weather to clear. He got caught in a hailstorm. I mean, there's just some very scary aspects, and good on him. I mean, an incredibly brave young man, and he did it, and he was successful, and that's just amazing. But I must say, I do not think I could have sent Travis that way, but or suggested that he goes that way. This route is much safer.
You are listening to Mike talking to Travis Ludlow, who is still 16, going to be happy birthday in February, and then in June next year you're going to be flying around the world. Doesn't that clash with some big major sporting event? Yeah, I think it does. I think it's either the European or something, or the World Cup. No, whatever it is. It's the Olympics. Oh, I don't know what it is. Are you getting involved in anything that's going on out there other than just what you're focused on? Because there's going to be a lot of distractions for you.
Yes. No, I'm not actually getting involved. Like, I want to focus on the flying, because, safety is the most important, and if I'm focused all the time, I want to minimise all the risks, because most of the aviation crashes are actually pilot error, and so if I'm not 100% focused, the risks goes up. The risk goes up.
So that's something we were talking about while the last song was on. What process will you go through? Because it's all about to say be focused, and it's a bit like saying to someone, drive safely. Oh no, I was going to drive dangerously. That doesn't actually achieve anything. Are you going to go through some form of step-by-step process in the morning to get yourself focused, or do you just think you're going to be focused?
Well, I just look at how I'm feeling, how I'm thinking. It depends on what you eat as well. So if I'm not feeling 100%, I'll just decide not to fly, because I need to be 100% focused. Even now, not even just flying in England, I don't feel comfortable when I'm not 100% focused. So
that's going to be the challenge, because again, you haven't got the comfort of the people around you, and there inevitably will people or circumstances will put pressure on you, and in different parts of the world, I'm sure, and somehow you've got to resist that. I'm sure. I have no doubts about you at the minute. Just sitting here listening to you. What are you going to eat? I know these are. I don't want to ask that question about what you're going to do about the toilet. If you want to find that one, look it up yourself. Go online and ask him a question. But what are you going to eat? Because it's all very well to say, I'll nip down to Sainsbury's and get myself a nice salad and have something else like that. But in some places, your options are slightly limited. You can't carry it all with you, can you?
No. So my support team, they can help me out with foods. But with people who have already flown around the world, I've been speaking to a lot of them. They're saying, even in places like Russia, they're all so nice. They all come out. They bring all this food for you. They have a big dinner, and they all celebrate that you've come to this place in the middle of nowhere. And the population's like 100 people.
But if they give you some local delicacy, And the next day you go, oh, that's not a good thing to do and then get in a plane, is it?
No. So yeah, like I said, if I'm not feeling 100%, then I won't take off. If I'm in the air and I start feeling bad, I'll turn around, fly back. But the aim is to just cut as many of these risks as possible. If I'm not feeling great, just don't fly, pretty much.
Oh, by the way, you're not flying till June. So between now and then, we will have you back in, because there's a lot more to know and find out about it. And then where you're getting on with your sponsorship to do that. Nick, can you just remind everyone where to go and what to do in terms of getting some sponsorship to support Travis?
Well, contact me at info@aroundtheworldsolo.co.uk, or if you want to donate personally through the website at www.aroundtheworldsolo.co.uk, and there is two options. There's a PayPal option and a GoFundMe option on the sponsorship page. So we'd love to receive something from you, and we put your name on the website, and we're planning possibly to put your name on the aeroplane depending on the donation.
Oh, there's a thought, because I can see you're wearing your little outfits as well, which is fairly good. And clearly there's going to be a book, then there's going to be a film. Who do you want to play you in the film, by the way? You have to think about it. I need an answer on that. Don't think.
I actually have no idea.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to. Someone's and Nick, who do you want to play you as well? This is important in terms of thinking about that, because people are always looking for stories, and they turn them into some great films. And, the youngest person to fly around the world with what you're doing and how you're doing it, there's bound to be adventures along the way. You're taking a scrapbook.
I am, yes.
What else can you take with you in terms of personal things to make you feel a bit better?
Well, because we have an autopilot, I basically all I need to do is just monitor what's going on in the place. So just monitor engine, monitor the route, the fuel. And that doesn't take long. So I can, read a book, maybe watch a movie or something, and occasionally just glance over, check that everything's okay.
Watch a movie?
Yeah, watch a movie. Yes.
I think you find that in cars, the movie option is disabled when you're driving.
Yes, but cars don't have autopilot.
Okay.
So
don't have a snooze, will you?
No.
Or can you?
No, you can't have a snooze, because you need to be monitoring all of these things in the plane.
And these aren't silly questions, because they're all real questions. If I'm driving and I'm tired, I open a window, and then I get cold and I close it. And the end result is stop and have a little kip. You're tired. You don't really have those options available to you, do you?
No. I can open the window. I just can't. Yeah, I just can't sleep at all.
Not above 10,000 feet. Mind you, you're not going to be above 10,000.
No.
Do you have any oxygen option on the plane available?
Yes, I will have oxygen.
Just in case?
Yeah, just in case, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's daunting for anybody, let alone someone of your age. And you're already commanding a lot of respect from a lot of people. I'm sure that too. Listen, I'm going to go back to play yet another of your great playlist. And all I want you to think about is I'm just envisaging a Marlow FM sticker on the side of your plane. Oh, I like the idea of that. I like the idea of it.
On Marlow FM 97.5.
Welcome back, everybody, to Travis and Nick to talk about Round the World. Where were we? Gosh, we were talking about risks and food and things like that. Presumably you will have emergency supplies on your plane, and I don't mean just a Mars bar and an inflatable life raft, but all of that stuff is going to be part of it, isn't it?
Yes, so the plane will pretty much be full of life raft, safety equipment. These long routes over the sea, I'll be wearing immersion suits. So if I do ditch it in the water, I've got a waterproof suit. It'll keep me warm.
Can you swim?
Yes, I can definitely. Yeah.
And what about first aid? I'm not suggesting you can do open heart surgery, but there may be an occasion where you need to do something.
Yes, so I am legally required to carry a first aid kit. I don't know how much that will help me if I've crashed in Siberia. So I will hopefully have some first aid training as well. Are
you allowed a lucky mascot as well?
Have
you got one?
I don't know.
You don't
No,
know. I don't know. Sometimes I travel all around the world, and I always take something that's particularly pointless, and I don't need it, but it just makes me feel a little. Just reminds me a little bit about home, and that's an important connection. Can you talk, Dad, to Travis on a daily basis, or how are you going to communicate? Drop me an email sometime.
We had a conversation about this a couple of evenings ago, and I think the hard part is going to keeping me quiet and stop contacting him while he's flying. I'm sure at some stage he'll be telling me, "Dad, can you leave me alone? Just let me fly the aeroplane." As we already talked about, Eddie Gould is going to be monitoring him throughout his flight, part of GASE, and he will be in communication with him all the time he's flying. I can call him and contact him at any time. And he can contact us. So some of it's through text and some of it's through direct contact. But he has got to look at his instruments. He has got to look out for other aircraft, and we'll disturb him as little as possible. But I will be contacting him more when he's on the ground than when he's in the air.
That's an interesting point about other aircraft, because there are going to be places where there aren't any aircraft around at all. And then you still have to keep a lookout, but there are going to be other places where there are a lot of aircraft, and okay, you can rely on air traffic to some extent, but you still got to keep your eyes peeled.
Yes, so that links to what I was saying about watching a film. Where, like if I'm flying over Iceland, there's the nearest plane is 200 miles away. So I don't have to be. I mean, sure, I'll look outside still, but I won't be constantly focused, looking around. Whereas if I'm in England or America or anywhere in Europe, there's the nearest aircraft could be 3 miles away. So I need to constantly just be looking around all the time, because that's also another of the biggest dangers is just other aircraft, because all these planes. You don't actually have to talk to air traffic control legally, so you can fly around just not talking to air traffic control. And so these planes who don't talk to air traffic control, they don't pop up on the radar screens. So some of the danger is just other aircraft.
Yeah, very much so. Now, there's something I meant to touch on, and I think it's something that we need to, and we can't avoid that, and it's a difficult subject. But of course, it's not a difficult subject. You spoke as well. You've got brother and a sister, or is it?
I have two sisters.
Two sisters. What do they think about this?
They don't really care.
No.
Yeah, they're thinking, oh, Travis, he's the oldest. He gets all the attention, but they don't really notice. Really,
What do they want to do? Do they have any great aspirations, Dad?
I think they just want to have fun. Girls just want to have fun.
Okay.
That's not on the playlist.
I know. I'm sure it's not on the playlist. I'm sure they're going to be really proud of what you do, even if they don't want to admit it, and that's what sisters do. But there's one other person we haven't mentioned at all, and that's your mum.
Yes. Well, at first my mum was terrified. She was completely against it. She was just like, oh, it's too dangerous. But recently, I don't know what happened, but she sort of just changed, and now she's just really supportive. I think because we told her about all this safety equipment we have on board, all this planning, and she just completely changed her mind.
So, Nick, did you have some influence over your wife? And it's not just your mum and your wife, is it? Who is this lovely lady?
Lauren, love of my life. She, as Travis says, I think she just changed her mind. I think she just realised that an awful lot of safety planning has gone into this, and she is now 100% supportive. She probably won't admit it, but she is. There is no criticism. There's a little bit of concern. There's concern with all of us, and I don't think she will be completely happy until none of us will, until he lands back down in White Waltham.
I think
so we'll be worried about it.
Well, that's fair enough. But behind every great man, every great adventure, there's often someone to support. Mid-Morning Matters. Here we're talking to Travis about him flying around the world as if it was just something that we're going to do for the weekend. And I applaud as well that there's an element here of that you've started to take it a little bit in your stride, and it's don't appear to be very daunted by it. Is that just because you're happy with where you're at?
yeah, I'm just happy. I'm just happy that I have the opportunity to do this. I don't really think about the risks really. It's like when I do my exams, I don't really feel nervous for my exams because I just think about the positives and what's going to come out at the end. So I'm pretty excited more than I am nervous, and I just want to go and do it pretty much.
You've also got to, that's another point you nicely raised it. You've also got to focus on what you're doing at school, at Great Marlow School as well. They must be really proud of what you're doing at the moment. Are you getting support from them?
Yes, they are supporting me. They're helping me with my missing school, catching up with all my work. And all the head teacher and the head of sixth form, he's really supportive of me. They're okay with me missing school, and they're really helpful.
Okay, what I would like to talk about, and we'll come to that after the news, is also about, I make a laugh about who you want. By the way, you haven't told me yet who you want to star in the film, and if you don't, I will. So that's an important thing to think about. And you can't have you can have whoever you want, but how. Between now and June, other than coming back on Marlow FM, which we'd be delighted with, and a sticker on the side of your plane, don't want to hold you up, by the way, how you're going to get the message out there because this is a big thing, and it's a big thing for someone from our country who's going to do it. And nice guy, American guy, but this is a first for us. So we'll talk a little bit more about that after the news. But I'm also intrigued as to what you're going to do next. When you've done that, what's the next hurdle?
Well, I want to motivate people after. So I want to do motivational speaking. Just motivate people to get up and go follow their dreams. And then for a job, really, I'm interested in going to the airlines, Air Force. That's also a bit of an option. Other than that, that's pretty much what I want to do from there.
Well, we'll talk more about that, and we'll also talk a little bit more about the environmental impact, what you're doing and what you're doing to manage that. You need support, and you say you've got a sponsor. You sort of touched on it a little bit. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so my main sponsor is Benelux King, and what they provide is the flight instruments for my plane. And so with the plane, they have the standard. The plane has all these dials. They're basically all these mechanical
all the
dials.
Complicated stuff.
Yeah, all complicated. Whereas what this company does, they take all that out, and they just replace it with these 3 digital screens, and it cuts the weight of the plane by about 150 pounds. And
presumably that's critical because it allows you to fly further for longer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it's so much easier to use because instead of having to look at a dial here, it's all just on one screen. You just all the information's on one screen, and I can, instead of having to look at a map and then look at the ground, I can just look on the GPS where I am on this screen, and this stuff is great. It's worth about £120,000, and the plane itself is worth about £120,000.
Whose plane is it? Are you just borrowing it?
So that's what we're. I don't actually have a plane yet. We need.
Is it yours, Nick?
No. We have a company called Reborn Aviation, which is building a plane, and they're Reborn Aviation are based in Thruxton, and they build planes from scratch. But they're old planes. They strip them down. So it's a Piper Warrior. They strip them down to bare metal, and then they rebuild it back up again.
So they're doing this for you.
Yes.
Okay. And clearly we've mentioned them. That's good. Okay, so what else are they doing for you as well in terms of that? Because that sounds pretty cool. To get a comfortable chair?
Yes, well, the chairs come with the rebuild, so it's basically like an armchair inside the plane, which is really nice. Obviously, not confident enough that I fall asleep in it.
You just covered yourself there, didn't you? Because the way you explained it, I was going, autopilot.
Yeah. Yeah, because obviously comfort, we're sitting there for quite a long time. But also, this Benelux King, they provide these instruments. They're the instruments that go into fighter jets. So I'm having, fighter jet equipment inside of my plane, which is just, is incredibly safe.
You're not going to call yourself Maverick, are you?
No.
What have you got a call sign?
No, I don't, no.
Oh, you got to go with Piper 4-3 or something like that?
No, so what we've actually done is we've... you can register, it's like a number plate. You can get your own...
I'd want one. So what are you going to go for?
So I'm going with 2 because we're registering it inside the...
Channel Islands.
The Channel Islands, that's it. That's 2 is their registration,
yep.
And then you can have your letters after, and so it's going to be 2 and then solo, so SOLO.
2 Solo. Can you call yourself 2 Solo as
yes.
well? I like that.
Yeah,
I like 2 Solo.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we're talking to you. I don't know how we're going to. Presumably, Nick will talk to you about how we set that up. But it'll be a bit like the president talking to the astronauts.
Yes.
On a smaller scale, but pretty much just as important. So looking forward to that as well. And okay, we've made a few decisions as well here. So we know for the film that's going to be the film of the book of the film of the story. Nick, you're going to be played by Chris Christopherson. Okay, that's a good choice. Travis.
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds, good one. A young Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
And obviously we've got your 2 sisters. You've got your mum. You've got to work all those out as well. They're part of it as well. We were talking about the kit that's on the plane and your sponsors and what they're going to do with it. Presumably, there's got to be double up on lots of things to make sure the things that work, and a wind-up handle just in case that runs out. What else have we got on the plane that we need?
So I have a beacon on me and inside of my plane. So if I go down anywhere, this beacon shows up on the computer screen, shows exactly where I am. I have one on me as well. So if I, get astray from the plane, they can still see where I am. And I also have, I got backup instruments. So let's say my instruments fail, I've got, backup virtual horizon, backup, just backup pretty much everything, and even a backup radio. So, it's just really aiming for safety, and because that's basically the most important thing is the safety.
You might have to wash some of your clothes while you're en route as well. Because you can't take, you can't take a trolley bag, can you? No. Say this is cabin luggage. I'm very sorry, sir. There's a weight limit on that. Yes,
well, because it's only me inside the plane, we can. I can actually carry quite a lot of stuff. If there's 4 people in the plane, then that would be a problem. But there's obviously not.
In terms of the record, then, and I know you said the Guinness Book of Records has sanctioned what you're going to do. No one can be on the plane whilst you're flying, or can you have someone on who they can't fly?
No, I can't have anyone on the plane at all. Otherwise, that would disqualify me.
And in fact, this is when we talk about opening up Russia. You could fly across Russia before this year, but previously you had to have a Russian co-pilot with you or a navigator, and so to cross Russia you'd have to have a second person, which of course eliminated the possibility of flying solo.
Who would know?
Well,
how do you prove it?
You weren't allowed to go any further. You'd land, and
I know, but for the Guinness Book of Records, how do they know you've done it? What do you use to prove it? Do you just say, you get back and you phone up and say, I did it? They go, great, but put it in the book, because they're pretty hot on validating, aren't they?
Well, I'm pretty sure what they do is so the way it is you have to do at least 22,800 miles. That's if you.
Oh, they use a milometer on
the
odometer or whatever it's called.
Yeah, so my route is 23,000 miles, and so that's 200 miles over the minimum. And so technically, a circumnavigation of the globe could be, you could fly up to Antarctica, fly around the North Pole, and then just zigzag until you built up 22,800 miles, and that would count
as...
as...
the M25, that'll take you a bit longer, I guess, won't it, on the speed limits.
As long as you carry on in the same direction.
Yes.
So Travis is flying east, he'll continue to fly east. A lot of the zigzagging will make up the miles as he crosses the States, as he continues to fly east.
Okay. Which kind of brings me on to another thing. And I don't want to be contentious going out there, but we're talking about carbon footprints here. Well, we've got a little 16-year-old called Greta Thunberg who's decided to come back from the US to Spain for the NATO conference, or the climate conference, by sailing boat. Aren't you using up a lot of carbon things.
Well, yeah. So what we're aiming to use is renewable fuel, biofuel, and
What's that?
and so this is fuel that's runs on rubbish that's just been turned into fuel. It runs on reused cooking oil.
Isn't it like Back to the Future 3 where he throws the rubbish into the car?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it gives the plane. There's less CO2 emissions. It recycles all of this rubbish, and it also gives the plane, a lot more range as well. Because I don't know, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I think it like burns hotter or something. And it doesn't need as much fuel to run the engine with this stuff.
Okay, so what's your range is quite significant, much further than your longest trip.
Yes, so I have about 1,300 mile range, and my longest trip is about 450 miles. So I have plenty of range.
That 450 miles is the one over water, or not? No, hang on. You said to Greenland, that's about 400 miles. That's not necessarily it's not the longest length of flying time-wise, but you said you've actually said you're going to be flying 8 hours over Russia, but that's not non-stop, is it?
7.5 over Russia, 8.5 over 8 hours over the
non-stop.
United States. And that's non-stop. But of course, in the States, you can land anywhere. And in fact, in Russia, there's a lot of airfields in Russia that you can land.
But where do you find a biofuel petrol station?
So that's what General Aviation Support Egypt are doing. Because they supply the fuel, so they'll ship this fuel all the way to these places in the middle of nowhere, and all I do is just fill up the plane and just keep going.
It's early days, and we're still in discussion. That is our wish. We have a diesel engine, so we can do it with a normal avgas engine. And let's face it, jetliners. There are some jetliners, and many jetliners have done a lot of routes using biofuel. It's just that there isn't enough biofuel being made to keep all the jets being able to fly on biofuel. So this is really to draw attention to the possibility that smaller aircraft can fly on biofuel, and it's still lots of things in discussion. So it's only a possibility. It's our wish to be able to do something for the climate and say, look, we're not doing this with polluting the atmosphere. We're doing this as part to send a message to say that you can fly with other fuel apart from fossil fuels. But it's still very much up in the air. There is a logistical issue in getting these drums to the places. So obviously we have to look at the carbon footprint, that getting those drums to certain places, that might defeat the object of actually using normal fossil fuel. So it's positioning those. It's only 40 drums of fuel, but those 40 drums of
doesn't seem very many, does it?
It doesn't. No. Well,
gosh. Okay. There's. I'm trying to capture all the things I want to talk about. One of the things that interests me is, what's the first thing you'll do when you get back here? Because I remember when I used to go on holiday, and the first thing I do is I'd have to go and do this. Or go to the sweet shop and as a kid buy a Mars bar or something. But there must be something that you will miss most about being away, because you're not going away for a weekend here.
Yeah, no, I think what I'm going to miss the most is just meeting all these people and visiting all these places. So I think the first thing I'll do when I get back is probably fly to France or something with my friends,
Commercial, please. Or would you fly them on your plane?
Yeah, fly them on my plane, yes.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's still a way to go, isn't there, before you're going to be able to get on this trip? What is it you need again?
Money.
That's fairly blunt.
Yes. That's what we need the most is money, because we need the money to get the plane ready. Once we have the plane, then, that's when things will start going. So we need sponsorships who are... just give us cash, pretty much. So.
Okay. Dad, do you want to refine that down a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we have had an amazing response from the aerospace community, in as much as we've had a lot of support with bits for the airplane. So batteries, oxygen, engines, electronic equipment, a lot of donations from here, there, and everywhere, and that's only going to increase. Where we're lacking is the cash sponsors. That's where his training is a lot of money, and that's only going to increase. We have just secured a phenomenal sponsor in the US who's going to help him with his IMC IFR rating, which is that's £10,000 on its own just to do that. So he will do 2 trips to the States with that sponsor, and that'll get him in his instrument rating, which is again a crucial part of the safety. Although he will be flying, and Travis will explain what VFR and IFR is. One is instrument and one is visual, and Travis having his instrument rating will be.
I think that's a fairly basic thing, isn't it? If you can see where you're going, you're flying on visual flight rules.
Yes.
If you can't, are you allowed to fly? And I know that there's been a variety of things, and I remember that issue about the Cardiff football player Salah and the rating that the chap had because of his sight vision issues, that he actually wasn't allowed to fly at night or fly IFR, as far as I can recall. So your qualification will allow you to do that and give you that instrument rating.
Yes, so I am doing my night training right now, and as
That's
said,
not difficult. It's dark most of the day anyway.
I'm doing my instrument rating in February, which that will mean I can actually take off in weather where I can't see anything at all. I could technically take off and land, and for this whole route I can't see 50 meters ahead of me.
Excuse me, Dad, I'm just going to talk technical there. Do you not need to still have a decision height when you're coming into land? In other words, there's a point with, like in any form of instrument approach, where you still need to get the visual guides and the lights to say, yes, I've made a decision, I'm committing to land.
Yes, there is. It's called minimums.
I know what those is.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure what the height is for my plane yet, because I haven't actually started my IFR training. But, after that height, then if I can't see the runway, I'll have to, go around. And
do you know, I remember once, and I just side in a little story here, just to reinforce your point and the challenge you could face in some of the bad weathers. And I remember talking to a fast jet pilot, and as the air traffic controller, as I said to him, Foxtrot 3-4, approaching minimum decision height. And he just said, keep talking. Because I was giving him an instant recovery, and so I was telling him, because at that point, once he says visual, you stop talking. But he said keep talking, so I had to give him instructions: right of centre line, left of centre line, on the glide path, all the way down. And that's a scary responsibility. He landed, and he came and bought me a beer later. But when they say keep talking, but those IFR rules, you'll be flying into some airfields where they don't have the equipment.
No, they won't. But that's what's great about this technology, is that it creates a virtual glide slope, pretty much. So I look at
this is the kit that you're being
kit that I'm getting supplied.
Wow.
I look at the screen, I just follow this purple line, and it'll take me right into the base of the runway.
Can I just make something very clear, though? He is flying VFR. At the only time that he will turn to instruments is in an emergency. So, he will not be taking off, as he just described, in a foggy situation or landing in a. It may be that he might have to, but that's only in an emergency. The idea is to avoid any weather and avoid as much as possible any instrument rating requirement.
Did you hear
it's probably going to happen, but
yeah, Lauren, did you hear that? It's all going to be fine. Yeah, okay. Well, the thing is, it's like you've got backups of equipment and you've got backups of skill and experience. And even at your age, you're going to end up being, by the time you finished, a really experienced chap in terms of flying. And again, it's fascinating because you're going to have to go back to school when you get back.
Yes.
That's going to be a bit of a challenge, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And a lot of people do, it's like Greta Thunberg, she's taken a year off and then she's going back to school. Or not, I don't know what she's going to be doing. And I know you're going to do motivational speeches, but you've kind of lit the blue tech paper at a fairly early age in terms of what you could end up doing. How quickly can you become an airline pilot? I don't know. What's the rules on that?
Well, it depends on money again. But you could technically do it in 3 years. You can get your commercial pilots. And
you can start that from 17?
I believe you can, yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can you drive a car yet?
No, I can't drive a car yet. No.
We decided to not, because the plan was that he was going to be learning to drive, and we decided not to complicate things, and we're going to. So yes, he will be flying. Well, he has now passed his PPL. He'll be taking his car lesson way after he's flown around the world.
Yeah, don't go into Grand Prix racing now, will you?
No.
I'm still intrigued as to what you're going to do when you get back, because your life is going to change forever.
Yes, so I'm not exactly sure yet. I haven't really thought about this. I think I just need some time to, comprehend what's happened.
I think it's the same for you, Nick. That you're saying goodbye to not a boy, a young man, but you'll come back. It'll be a very different experience. You're going to meet them in Oshkosh. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's all of you going out there.
The whole family's going out.
Oh, very nice.
So Travis, his longest stint on the ground will be at Oshkosh. So he'll be there for 5 days. During his around-the-world trip, it'll be averaged out at about 3 days of flying, then a day's rest, 3 days of flying, then a day's rest. Sometimes there'll be 2 days rest, depending on the weather and other bits and pieces. But the aim is to give him plenty of time to recover. But Oshkosh is 5 days, so we'll all be there. He's got a lot of commitments to sponsors to talk and things. So, and I think his aeroplane might be on the stand for Bendix King. So he'll be talking to customers about the instruments within his aircraft on the Bendix King stand at Oshkosh.
Yeah, that's another interesting point. I put my car in for servicing every so often, and it's certainly not done 22,000 miles by the time I service it. It's going to need a little bit of maintenance along the way, isn't it?
Can I answer this one, Chad?
Yes.
Because this is, when I first looked into this, obviously I was very nervous. When I spoke to a company that sells aircraft, and I said, if I bought an aircraft and flew around the world and then sold it again, what would the depreciation?
Say that word again with a couple of beers inside.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
And he said, well, it'll be next to nothing. 23,000 miles is nothing in an aeroplane. And it made me feel an awful lot better, especially seeing as we've got a Continental engine going into the aircraft. That's a solid diesel engine based on a Mercedes engine. 23,000 miles is nothing to fly around the world in that, and it'll be serviced en route.
Oh, it will be serviced.
It will be serviced en route.
Yeah. Get me new wings, please. These ones are worn out.
So that made me feel an awful lot better hearing that.
When you and Travis, from a technical perspective, I'm thinking about your film roll, by the way. When you walk around the aircraft in the morning to do your checks, will you kick the wheels? Because that's what they always do.
Yes, I'll kick the wheels.
I think that's important.
Yeah,
the kicking the wheels option is there. I'm in awe, Travis. It's incredibly exciting. It is risky. And it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful life experience. And Marlow FM is going to want to share that with you, I'm sure. So just for the last time, perhaps the both of you could tell me, how can people find out a little bit more? And if you send that to me, Nick, we can get that up onto the website, up onto the Facebook page.
Yeah, so you can follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube, and they're all Around the World Solo. All one word, just Around the World Solo. And you can also go on my website, which is www.aroundtheworldsolo.co.uk, and that has all my information and has all social media on there, and you can also donate on there. We really just need your help. We need we just need money and anything else you can get for us to fly around the world.
We'll get your cheese sandwich from the supermarket. I take it that's not going to help, is it?
No.
Oh, well, I get that. Okay, and Nick?
Yeah, just obviously the website again, but follow Travis as things develop. Obviously, there's nothing up there about there's his route that's up there, but you won't be able to follow him at the moment because he's not travelling. But you can, but when he does travel, you'll be able to track him as he flies to the different places. And as I said, he'll be talking to media companies around the world, and hopefully to Marlow FM on a regular basis as he flies around the world.
Oh, absolutely, and I think that'll be great to give Marlow FM listeners an opportunity to find out where you are, someone out there is spreading the word. Clearly, I need you to also market Marlow FM for us as well, because we like listeners from all around the world. And if they can tune into the programme on 97.5 or online, that'll be awesome as well. Listen, it's a privilege to have the both of you in this morning. Thank you so much indeed for that. And this isn't the last one I have on your playlist, or I expect your playlist is going to be a lot longer. Travis, Nick, we would love you to come back in perhaps in May before you go. Have yourself a great Christmas and good luck with the fundraising.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.